Welcome back from coffee breaks. We are down to the last two sessions of today's agenda. But just to remind you, we have attractive prizes to be won. So your last two opportunities to win a Bluetooth water bottle and a wireless charging mouse. So look out for the details right after the speaker session. Sally, who's up next?
And now, it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce you to Vincent Craw, Regional Business Development Lead, Education, Research and NPO, Asia Pacific, Worldwide Public Sector, AWS. As he makes his way up, please welcome him to the stage.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for staying with us through till this time. I know it's been a long day for some of you, but I hope that you'll find the last two sessions also as valuable, if not more valuable, for you. As you think about how you're going to do your business and run your business on AWS. So my name is Vincent Craw, and today I'm going to talk a bit about the transformation that has been happening in the education sector. But this is the story that I'll be telling in three parts. The first is that I'm going to go through who our education customers are, what they have been doing with AWS. And then I'm going to focus a bit of time on some of the education programs that we have that help to skill up our customers, our education institution. And then I'll bring a partner up who's going to share a bit more about what they're doing in this particular space. And I'll end with another program that we've specifically designed for education technology companies. So that's the three parts story that I want to be able to share with you today. And of course, at the end of the session, you have a chance to win a prize, and you give your feedback on the session. All right, so here we go. Well, I hope you like that video. Right now, I want to share with you how AWS look at the education and research business. In this slide, these are our four sub-segments of the business when we think about education and research. The first is obviously the higher or tertiary education institution, and it encompasses both public as well as private institutions. The second sub-segment would be the K-12 or the primary secondary school segment. Again, it covers both public and private K-12 institutions. The third, which in most situations may not be found in the education side of the business, But in our case, in AWS, they are part of our business because the education technology companies provide those specialized services that serve students, teachers, schools, institutions, faculty members, and all the different constituents of our education sector. And the last is this term called learning companies. You may not be very familiar, but if I say this is the new name for publishers, and they are also part and parcel of the education business that we serve. So our remit is actually very, very wide, but it's a very exciting area of work that we do in all these 4 subsegments. And research obviously is found in the tertiary or higher education segment. You might have seen some of these benefits or reasons why a lot of customers in education and research sector are moving into the cloud. You've heard about how agility is such an important benefit that customers are realizing when they move into AWS. Not just costs. Cost may be one of those elements that they started off thinking about it, but it's actually agility that gives them some of the best benefit when they have started using AWS. Of course, the breadth of services is something that you will never be restricted to. In fact, whether you are a student, a faculty member, a school, an ed tech company, you have access to all the 120 plus different services that AWS provides. Thirdly, you will definitely receive cost savings, and definitely elasticity is something that you will benefit. And so when I go through some of the example cases, you will also hear familiar words like it's because of the elasticity that they are able to benefit from using the cloud to serve their community. Deploying globally is also something that is very interesting because some of our education customers are global and they want to serve a global set of customers. And lastly, security. And when you think about the momentum that has been built by these education customers on AWS, it is really exciting to see some of the logos that we have. And this is simply a very small subset of the logos of companies that are using AWS. It's a very, very long list, but I'm not going to go through any one of them. You will be able to find a lot of these case studies actually on our website. So talking about transformation, one of the latest transformation that we are seeing and that our customers are experiencing is voice and voice-enabled services. And to introduce that, I have a video to share with you.
Okay, make sure you get out there and do some of the stuff on campus.
I will. Hey. Alexa, ask Slew what's happening on campus tonight. Ask Slew who the Billikens are playing tonight. Ask Slew where the student center is. Alexa, call Mom. Is Quizify even a real word? Ask Slew when the library opens. Alexa.
Yes.
Ask Slew when student health opens. Alexa, where can I order pizza from? How long can pizza stay out? Play a guided meditation. What's the atomic weight of mercury? Ask Slew to call career services. Ask Slew how I changed my address. Alexa, ask Slew what time commencement starts today.
The 2022 commencement ceremony starts at 9 a.m. Congratulations, Billiken.
So in St. Louis University, Every student dormitory now is equipped with an Echo Dot, and Alexa is their personal digital assistant. So it's pretty exciting to see how voice is now being used even in students' experiences within the university context, and how that can actually help the students' lifestyle when they join any particular university. So that's some of the innovation and transformation that we are beginning to see, and this video was just produced this year when St. Louis University actually came out and announced that this is what they have done back in August. So we're very excited about it. But just because that sounds like, wow, that is quite interesting, maybe a bit too far-fetched for me, let's get back to the real root and real meat part of the education side of things. Open University Australia, one of the very early adopters of AWS in Australia, built a MOOC platform combining an open source technology like Moodle as well as Drupal to build this, what they call, open to study platform. And through that platform running on AWS, they now or have been able to serve more than 100,000 students worldwide on a concurrent basis. That's where they can go global. That's where the elasticity comes in. That's where the agility comes in, right? And they are able to develop new products and services even at a very, very much rapid pace when they are using AWS. Echo 360, which is an education technology company, they started a work being able to capture lectures and then compile them and then presenting back as an on-demand service to students, so that students who have missed the lessons or want to revise can go back to this particular lecture and then go through the entire lesson all over again. Without the agility and the scalability of AWS, they will never be able to reach those kind of students, millions of students in all the different schools and countries across the world. In addition, they don't have to plan for capacity, because with the auto-scaling capability of AWS, the service just continues to scale and they are able to deliver the service to all their customers. And again, they are a global customer delivering this service across the entire world. In the area of Ivy Tech, learning analytics is such an important part because ensuring that students, when they enter to the college and finally graduating, is such an important metric that they tracked. And what they want to do is they want to anticipate potentially whether there are students with issues that they can identify early on and address those issues to ensure completion of graduation. And they now can track students, right, up to 85% accuracy if the student is going to graduate or not. That's pretty amazing in terms of the learning analytics that they're able to capture based on the interaction of the student with the system. They use a managed data warehouse service like Redshift in AWS, and they use our storage services for all the storage purposes. And this is something that they are able to benefit from. So from a cost-effective, the data warehousing services is a very, very cost-effective way for them to run some of these analyses, not necessarily on a 24/7 basis, but on a regular basis without having to spend a lot of money on a specific data warehouse solution. Coming back home more to a Singapore case study is the Singapore University of Social Studies. They were able to save costs. Why? By simply moving to AWS. And that is what they have been able to achieve. 50% cost savings just by moving into AWS as compared to when they were running it on-premise. And they want to make sure that their mobile apps are constantly running on AWS and serving their students, okay? And so that they don't have to always recreate new applications, but a lot of the services is done through the mobile application platform that they've developed on AWS. And that's the case study that we have here in Singapore. Moving on to the research side of things, there are two examples I want to quickly share with you. One of our customers, the International Rice Research Institute, they are part of a global organization which has about 12 or 13 centers across the world. Erie is one of those 12 or 13 centers across the world, focused on a particular area of crops, right? And for them, it is about rice. And what they have done is they built an internal ERP system and offering this service to their sister institutes from across the world. The finance, the HR, the procurement, the payment system, everything is on AWS. And if you look at what Marco, the CIO, said, it says, price performance-wise, AWS stood out because it provides a better service at a lower cost. In fact, if you visit them, they will actually tell you they experience the impact of some of the major hurricanes and typhoons that hit the Philippines, and their data center actually almost got flooded. And through that experience, they say, no more owning data center, move everything to the cloud. And that is something that they have done. They have also done research projects on AWS, as well as maintaining a very important set of databases, which is the Rice Information System databases that is sitting inside AWS as well. The next example would be the Genome Institute of Singapore. As I said to Dr. Swain Chen here, who is in the audience, I'm a bit careful here. I stole this slide from his presentation last year, but it's simply an illustration to you of what GIS was able to achieve through the running of these particular type of workloads on AWS. And they're thinking of a really large number. How do you analyze 1 million different genomes coming from all the different devices that they will be doing, right? You look at some of the results. They were able to reduce analysis time from 6 hours to 15 minutes. That's amazing acceleration and productivity in terms of research. And because of the auto-scaling and the high parallelism, they're able to grow that and speed up the analysis, right? And when you look at how many genomes can they tackle for the similar cost structure, right? They're able to achieve a 20x improvement. And that is something that is pretty powerful work done by the Genome Institute of Singapore. The last is a project out of San Francisco State University. It's a protein folding project, and they are able to make use of the AWS infrastructure and giving that access of that data set to the different researchers from across their universities and some of their partner universities to do the analysis of this data set that they have. And this is just another example of how research has been benefiting from the AWS infrastructure. This completes the first part of what I wanted to share with you. And now going on to the second part, I want to quickly talk about what are we seeing in terms of skilling, in terms of jobs. And we hear a lot of this talk about what's the future of jobs that we're looking at. In our view, we believe that there needs to be a combination of partnerships between the industry, the education institution, as well as government agencies. The industry cannot do this by ourselves because it's too much, and therefore we need to bring in the education institution and the government agencies to be able to tackle this big skill gap, especially in the cloud skill aspect that is out there in the market. If you look at LinkedIn data, for the last 3 years, cloud computing is the #1 skill that employers are looking for. And then if you look at the World Economic Forum report, cloud computing is one of the major technological drivers that's going to change and disrupt industries as well as the kind of jobs that people will have. And so we need to find a way to address this. And the way we do it from an AWS perspective is through this program called AWS Educate. Now, I've heard from my colleagues at the booth that a lot of people have been asking about what this program is all about. So I want to take this quick opportunity to walk you through what this program is all about. Essentially, it is a program for tertiary institutions. It is free to join. And what we provide would be online content from AWS, as well as content from some of the top 10 computer science schools across the world. And you can use this content, download this content, and use it in your own curriculum as you teach your students about cloud and for the students to learn about cloud. In addition to that, there is also cloud credits that we will give to every student that is registered and every educator that is registered, so that when you consume AWS services, these credits will be offset from the cost that you incur when you're using AWS. And this is so that you will learn without fearing that you will incur additional costs. And so we want you to have your students learn about the cloud and not fearing about the costs of doing that. And of course, there's a community of educators and institutions around the world that is working on this. Most important is we want to link the learning to the students to the job, because of that job gaps, that is out there in the market, especially for cloud computing. And so that's what we were hoping to be able to do through this program. This is going to be very fundamental for a lot of us. And right now, more than 1,500 institutions across the world are already using this, and more to come. So it's at this point, when we are talking about understanding skilling, understanding what we need to do to know how to prepare, whether is it our students, whether is it our working adults, to be ready for the future and for the future of the different jobs that is yet to be defined. I want to take this moment to introduce to you our partner, Jan. Jan comes from CXS International, and he's going to talk to us about how to prepare workforces for Industry 4.0. Jan, do come up and share with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. Hi, everybody. Jan Lambrechts, CEO and founder of a Singaporean company called CXS. And I want to bring your attention real quick to our logo. Our logo is a thumbprint, and it means actually we try to find identity and purpose for everybody in the world. Basically, it doesn't mean that if you fail at school, that you fail at life. It doesn't mean that if you're an accountant for 20 years, you only know accountancy. And why is that important? Because we know that 50% of the jobs that we know today will be disappearing within the next 5 years. We also know that 85% of the jobs in 2030 still have to be invented. Yet, we are sending our kids through a traditional education system, and we don't even know what job they're going to do. That is why it's very important that we find out other metrics about our workforce. What is their motivation? What do they wake up for in the morning so they can go to a job without it feeling as a job? So we have built a massive platform where we empower governments to take decisions, data-driven decisions regarding their workforce. And we do that in 3 very simple steps. The first step is to understand your supply. And supply meaning your graduates, even your 15 and 16-year-old kids, returning mothers that took a break for 2 to 3 years in the workforce and don't see any relevance in their skills to the traditional and to the new workforce of today. That's what we mean with supply. We will profile and analyze every single one of them. If you aggregate that, we have a full understanding of your present workforce, but also of your future workforce. The second part is where we will look into the demand. The jobs of the future and the skills of the future are not created by governments. They are created by CEOs, entrepreneurs, scale-ups, startups, small companies. They know what skills they need to survive the new digital age. So that's where we have the demand. Now, if you combine the supply and demand, you understand the mismatch. And this is then where you can help governments to skill up certain industries extremely fast. I'll give you an example. In Norway, where we have basically the whole country of Norway, every individual is on our platform. They are living on 100% renewable energy. They're not using any of the oil money anymore. They're going to do a very big merge into health tech right now. We are now reskilling oil engineers into health tech engineers in a matter of weeks. So every single body that we profile, we will look into their values, their interests, and their preferences. We will find out what their drive is, and we will cater them to the skills of the future. So for example, an accountant who is losing their job right now because of automation, because of everything is going to go into the cloud and whatsoever for accountants, they have already 85% of the mathematical mindset to become a data scientist, the most sought of job currently. Data scientists, there is not enough data scientists at all. There's a shortage of data scientists globally. We reskill data scientists or accountants into data scientists in a matter of weeks. So one of the very interesting analytics that we found out from our platform is that's here from graduates in ASEAN region. Only 26%, and actually the number is 20%, only 20% of ASEAN graduates are in alignment with their career choice. So what does that mean? It means that the government is expecting 100 engineers to hit the workforce. Nope. You have 20 engineers hitting the workforce. There is 80 of them that are thinking like, okay, this doesn't suit well. I don't really know what I want to do with my life. They are contributing to the unemployment percentage. They are thinking of upskilling or reskilling themselves. So this is a really important part. Now, companies, as we know them today, they will change drastically. Actually, I think it's 30 or 40% of the companies we know today will disappear within 10 years because they are not changing fast enough. One of our biggest customers is the National Bank of Norway. And what we have done, a project with them, is last year they announced, we are not a bank anymore. We are an IT services company. Makes sense. A bank is now making apps, they are making websites, they're just a transaction company whatsoever. But they have a huge problem. For the past 50, 60 years, they have been building this culture in this organization where they are looking into financial tellers, bank tellers, and whatsoever. So we're helping them with that full transformation. It's also totally crazy that companies are still today hiring based on a CV. A CV is a meaningless piece of instrument that hasn't been updated for the past 60 years. How can you see on a CV that somebody is a good sales guy? Or how can you see on a CV that somebody is a good team player or a good communicator? You just can't. That is where those analytics come in extremely important. According to the World Economic Forum, the 3 most important skills that we need to survive this digital age are teamwork, collaboration, and communication. Yet, those are the skills that none of our schools or whatsoever are preparing our graduates and our people for. And that's exactly what we do. So with CSC, we have closed a partnership where we are looking into upskilling of all the civil workers here. So basically, how do we prepare them for the future? And with our platform, we will know how you learn and how you grow and how you absorb information. So basically, we can push content to you that you can upskill yourself extremely fast. So, and rightly pointed out by Vincent just now with the Aws Educate platform, what we see now is instead of going the traditional way and upskilling somebody in 2 to 3 years, you take specific industry content like the AWS. AWS has 30 learning paths, am I correct? 30 learning paths right now. And we can just, you can go on the website, we know how you learn, we will push the content to you, and we can transform you into a data scientist, into a cybersecurity specialist, into an e-commerce specialist, into a drone pilot, which will and is becoming one of the jobs of the future as well. And then we look into ways of doing that on a personalized basis. Now, one of the questions is we are a pure B2G company. We only serve governments in currently 32 countries out there. And we became a major partner of AWS, I think, a year and a half ago. And the main reason for us was because of the security features. Because, yeah, there is other cloud players there as well, but the Shield and WAF features, those were for us the groundbreaking features to choose for AWS at this moment, because we have prepared and selected and compared with all the other players out there as well. And these are the best industry standards that we could find. Because we hold a lot of data. We hold a lot of personal data, government data, and whatsoever. So the number one thing for us is security. Make sure we don't get hacked. Make sure we don't get DDoS attacks and whatsoever. And that's where we chose for our main actualized global platform, where we are supercharging governments that they can take decisions based on analytics instead of gut calls. And that's why we chose for AWS at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. So we can see here now our partner actually transforming how they are informing government and helping them make good decisions based on the data that they can get access through their platform. So it's really transformative of how they are doing it. I want to end by closing this section on a reach out to all the education technology companies, if you are any here. If not, you can also pass the word around. We've just launched this program called AWS Ed Start, and it's specifically tailored for education technology companies. And what this is really a virtual accelerator where we're going to bootstrap you with capabilities and even with credits that will accelerate your adoption and your development of your education technology companies. So the program is called AWS Ed Start, and what are the benefits? Very simple. We know that education technology companies, or for that matter, startups, they love being in a community. And so that's what we do. We built this community of like-minded type of entrepreneurs and startups. They come together, they share information, and we also help facilitate mentorships with the more seasoned startups so that you get guidance, you get mentored by some of these more seasoned and experienced entrepreneurs. And maybe we even give you access to incubators, VCs, right? So this community is so important to the startup community. In addition, do not underestimate the technical assistance that the AWS architects can actually help you as a startup company when you're developing your solution, right? The sessions and the discussions that you're going to have is going to be so important, and it will help you understand what are the more specific type of AWS services that you can leverage. And instead of using A, you should use B. And we will guide you along the way of how you can actually build your service using the right AWS services. That's the technical assistance that we will make it available to all those who are members or accepted as members in the program. And finally, it is about some financial assistance that we can help. We will actually give you cloud credits, depending on how you're consuming the cloud credits. We've launched this program last year in the US, and now across the world, we've issued more than $2 million of credits to all the different members that have already become part of this community in AWS Ed Start. And so it's an exciting phase. We want to kickstart your acceleration into this new area, and we hope to make you as successful as we can by this initial seed of help that we can give to you. We have already certain members in APAC. These are just some of the logos that you find. They have already been approved. For those of us who are in ASEAN, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, and Thailand are all approved. The other countries have not yet come online, but soon to come. But if you are in a startup, an education technology startup in these countries, you are welcome to apply to become members of this particular program. And so with that, I want to thank you for your attention. And before I leave this stage, I just want to leave you with, other than a thank you, I want to leave you with that slide on the question, the feedback, the QR code that you need to give your feedback on. And this is a chance for you to actually win some of the really, really nice prizes that our announcer has announced early today. All right? So with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Vincent and Jan, for the valuable insights. For a copy of their deck, you can approach Jane and Celeste at the front and back of room to tap your smart badge. Do also take a minute to fill out the session survey with the details on screen now and stand to win limited edition AWS swag. And winners will be announced right after the last session. We're going to have an immediate draw, so stay tuned for that.